Hello everybody. Hey, I'm super excited that you're here joining me on this presentation here. And I'm even more excited about what I'm going to present to you. So as you can see, we're talking about COVID-19 testing. And the question is, can antibody testing return us back to normal? And I think the answer is yes. And that's what the experts, that's what the epidemiologists around the world are asking to be done. They want to antibody test the citizens because they predict many people have already been exposed and they've already built immunity, potentially lifelong immunity to this. And the reason why that's so important is because if we can identify those individuals and we know who's already been exposed and who's not at risk, then we can then start to mobilize them, right? We start to get those individuals back to their jobs. We can stop the layoffs. We can get this country going again. We can get this economy going again. Okay, let's jump into it. So, well, let's see if I can get this slide to work. There we go. Currently what we're doing the swab testing, right? So you're doing the nasopharyngeal test or the oropharyngeal testing. Those are done at hospitals, drive-throughs. Certain clinics have access to this testing. And this is looking for specific genes for the coronavirus. So it detects the presence of that virus. Now there's a couple downfalls, right? So this can be expensive. It's quite laborious. So there's a backup at some of the labs. And the other problem is it's got a high false negative. It's up to 40% false negative. What that means is that a person actually has the coronavirus, but many different reasons. Maybe one could be the test was done wrong, but anyways, it could result in a false negative. So the person leaves saying you're negative, potentially exposing and infecting other people. Nonetheless, this is the test that is to be used in a critical or an acute setting, and that's the standard right now. If you are examined and believed to have it, that's the test you're going to get, and that's the best that we have right now. So you have also some other testing or companies popping up to where you can do this at home. Well, they actually send a provider. This company does anyways. This company sends a provider to your home to perform this test. Well, I think that's a good idea because if you are infected, it keeps you from infecting somebody at a hospital or a clinic going to get this test. So you can be tested at your home, but again, it's going to have the same shortcomings of having this potential false negatives. Again, this test is still only testing if you have the virus right now. Now we're getting into antibody testing. This is what I think is exciting. So this is actually looking at how your immune system reacts to the coronavirus. So it's not testing the presence of it like right now. It's saying, hey, here's a history of your immune system. Your immune system has come in contact with this virus, has fought off this virus, and now has immunity, potentially lifelong immunity to this virus. And it can also tell us what phases you may be in as well. I'll go over that in a moment. So you have a couple tests hitting the market, or several tests probably hitting every week. It seems like there's a new test coming out. And these companies here, there's two companies doing antibody testing. The thing I wasn't excited about is they're only using one antigen. So they're only using one piece of the virus to test. Company I am choosing to use is Vibrant America because they have 4 different antigens, 4 parts of the virus that they're able to test your antibodies for. And those are the S1 proteins, those spike proteins, S2, the receptor binding domain, and the nucleoprotein. Now, this is a schematic of your immunoglobulins and when they rise. When you come in contact, when you're infected, your first one, I don't know if you can see this is blown up a little bit. So maybe a little blurry, but this is the immunoglobulin M, IgM. So within day 3 to 7 is when that one's rising, and that's more of an acute, that's more of a recent infection. As that one starts to drop off, then the green one over here starts to pick up, which is IgG, immunoglobulin G here starts to rise. It starts to fall off, but may never ever quite go all the way down. This is the one, this is more of your long-term immunity, right? And so this one may never go all the way down, and this one may, give you that lifelong immunity to coronavirus. Now, here's the testing here. So this is pretty straightforward. So it's pretty easy to interpret. So IgM, so this person's positive on all 4 antigens and IgM. So we know this is more of a recent infection. This is something that has happened fairly recent and important to know, right? So this is somebody that may want to consider being under quarantine still for some time because they're not yet converted over to that long-term immunity. Now, another example of a patient. So you have one of the antigens still is more of a current infection or more of a recent infection, but they're starting to convert over now. Now they're making the IgG antibodies and the IgA antibodies. So they're having some more of that long-term, or they're building some of that long-term immunity, and they're transitioning from a recent infection into one that is gone, and now they have immunity too. Now I like this example because this is going to illustrate how this company, one of the companies I just showed you before, only tests for one, and it happens to be the receptor binding domain. They would have missed it. They would have completely said, hey, this person's negative. Now the other company tests nucleoprotein. They would have got it, and Vibrant, of course, got it because they check all 4. So it's very important to know. One of those companies would have let, this person would have said, hey, you've not been exposed yet. You haven't been exposed to this virus, in which they actually have, and actually building immunity to it. Next person. So in this example, this person's already converted over. So they're out of the more recent phase into the late phase where, they've already been exposed, have built immunity, to that virus. And one thing I want to point out is, say they were using this other company that's testing the nucleoprotein. Again, they would have missed us. They would have said negative. So this person would have said, okay, I haven't been exposed yet, haven't come into contact with it. And so they would still be stressed, and they would still be, worrying about this, when in actuality, they have already built immunity to it. And this is also important too, because this IgG, this is that new therapy you might have heard on the news. It's right out of Houston they're using. They're taking the plasma from somebody that already beat coronavirus, and they've already made these antibodies, and they can potentially save a critical patient's life by infusing them with the person that's already beaten, built immunity to coronavirus, and infuse them with that so that they could, like I said, potentially save their life. And that'd be important to know. Again, if we were using this company that only tested the nucleoprotein, would have missed that. Okay, I hope that brings some clarity to the antibody testing. I want to thank you guys for being on here with me. And again, I really think this is the test that's going to make the difference. I think if we can get more people in the community, not just our community, but all over the nation tested, this is what's going to give us the confidence to know, hey, look, you've already been exposed. You already have beat this thing, and we can identify the individuals that are in that group, and we can mobilize, we can get them back into the community, back to their jobs, stop the layoffs, and try to save this country and this economy before any more damage is done. All right, I want to thank you guys.